2. And we're live, according to the bullshit. This is State Smash Podcast. For any of those of you who don't know, this is where I talk with somebody who's got an anti-state project for an hour, and I have a patron-only thing that I'll be doing, but that won't be happening this time because I've got patrons that didn't get to me. Sorry, I've got my preview over here that was set up. But if you are a patron and you would still like to get in on that, then feel free to hit me up. Or if you become a patron while this stream is going, you can get access to the patron-only stream as well, where you can ask questions of my guests that you want to make sure get asked in case I do not. So feel free to hit me up on any of that sort of thing. This is my first time back in a while, so for those of you who have missed my bullshit, I'm going to be firing pretty much everything back up. This is a new webcam, new setup, new room, new everything. It's fucking gonna be much more intense, much more personal. You get to see my fucking face, which, you know, I don't know if that's a positive or not, but some people claim to like it. Except, of course, my guest, who apparently can't see it because I guess, like, you can't have OBS capture your face with a webcam and also have Skype see it. So that's AIDS, but, you know, whatever. I mean, if my guests really want to see it, I guess they can have YouTube open in another window. I don't know. Okay, so to introduce my guest, he is Jay Caetano. I think that's how you pronounce the name. And he does AnarchoCoffee, AnarchoCBD, and AnarchoInc podcast. Feel free to introduce yourself, let people know what all of those things are, and we will get into the show after the sponsored whatever blah blah that I'll be doing. Right after you introduce yourself. Feel free to be as elaborate as you want.
Yeah, so my name is Jay. I'm the owner and founder of AnarchoInc. And as I like to say, it's your home for buds, brews, beans, and Bitcoin. And if you don't know what that means, then you haven't been listening to my podcast. But AnarchoInc is the owner of AnarchoCBD.com, your buds, AnarchoBeer.com, your brews, and AnarchoCoffee.com, your beans. And all of our businesses gladly supports and believes in the power of cryptocurrency. It's the only way we can end the Fed.
All right. So, before I introduce, why don't you tell people a little bit about what makes your products special?
Yeah, so the idea of our products, starting with the coffee, that was the flagship product. Is about keeping money in the liberty movement and keeping the money out of what I like to call crony capitalism.
All right. So and how do you do that?
So every dollar that comes into AnarchoCoffee either gets put back into the business, helps me financially, or we support groups or nonprofits like the Mises Institute.
Okay, so that was going to be one of my first questions, but I'll save it for after the sponsorship. So if you want to skip this message when the video is recorded, you can do that. If you don't want to listen to the sponsored message, you can mute it for like a minute while I say these things, and go check out his sites if those sounded interesting to you. But the sponsored messages, this is brought to you by Liberty Mugs, Brave Browser, Cash App, fucking Honey Miners Honey Hotel, which is where you can get affordable cryptocurrency mining, and fucking Coinbase, and also Privacy, which is fucking cards that are disposable that you can use for like whatever subscription you want, and they will give you $5 to sign up for Privacy. They will give you $10 once you use a $100 in buy or sell on Coinbase. A lot of these services will just give you something, but it's also primarily brought to you by the patrons, the people who make this show run. So feel free to become one of those. Feel free to donate if you want. Anything helps, and I want to make this show the best it can possibly be. So if you've got an anarchist product that you want to promote, also hit me up for ads. Do whatever you want. Anything helps. All that said, my first question to you would be, you say you donate to certain anarchist things. Is that only right anarchist in terms of the Mises Institute, or do you donate to any agorist initiative, any syndicalist or ANCOM initiatives?
So right now, I'll donate a portion of our profits, like antiwar.com,
Good stuff.
Scott Horton stuff, or or I'll try to buy products from there, and help him support, what he's doing. Mises Institute, Freedom Foundation, and if there's ones that people want me to know about, I'm still learning. As an anarchist, I've been more in the libertarian camp. But after after this last election, I'm just kind of done voting. There's no point to any of this whole game anymore. It's just really a fucking joke. I don't know how to say it.
Well, and it's funny that you mention that, because it's a very interesting thing to bring up that Hillary won popular, because it's like, yeah, Trump won, but only because they ignored the actual popular vote. So, I mean, yeah, and I see you in chat, Trey. Welcome to the show. Welcome, Nick. So, and by the way, Nick at the Dank Pod Stash, he's a good guy. He's helped me out a lot lately with a lot of stuff. He's the one who recommended Jay. So feel free to go check out the Dank Pod Stash as well. They're also going to be a partnered site. I'm going to have a banner up on my site. Hit me up for rates to be a partnered site as well, if that appeals to you. So I guess my next question to you would be, you sell CBD. That is a cannabis product that is still federally illegal in many places. They will call the feds on you. Where are you, or if you're not comfortable saying that, are you in a place where they don't generally snitch, or are you in a place where it's sort of a guerrilla operation?
So the CBD is not a guerrilla operation at all. It's a known distributor called HempWorks Affiliates,
Right.
And so, anything like in terms of legality is with HempWorks. I'm essentially just the idea of pushing their products, and then a lot of people have knocked me because they're a multi-level marketing scheme or a Ponzi scheme. Well, so far it's the first affiliate program that I've been a part of where I'm actually making money, and number two, their products are not cheap. And the reason they're not cheap is it's because it's high quality cannabis. The shit is green out of the bottle. And another reason I got involved with CBD is, and I've said this on my podcast, and I have no problem saying this publicly, is because of all of the stresses from society and the American dream that we have to live, I've developed anxiety, right? And so CBD has helped me with that. And particularly the HempWorks brand. And there are, other good brands too. But when you get involved with the CBD market, it is, it's really an individual. You have to do your own individual research and determine which CBD products are going to be right for you. For me, HempWorks is lab tested by private labs. It's made in Kentucky at Kentucky Farms. It's American made, and it's 100% pure CBD. And if you want some with a little THC, they have that too. So in terms of the legality, I don't fear for that, because essentially, if the state comes knocking at my door, I'm saying talk to HempWorks, because they're offering affiliate programs and I'm just selling their product. It's not like the coffee where it's my brand. I wanted it to be, but again, when I started looking at the paperwork, just like with the beer, it's insanity. I mean, selling CBD should be like setting a lemonade stand up. That's how easy it should be, and it's not.
Well, I mean, to be completely fair on that score, Country Time did just do a recent marketing campaign talking about how setting up a lemonade stand shouldn't result in fines, penalties, and illegality at all. It's not a crime. It should just be something you can do. Although, of course, they are a corporate brand, and it did sort of make me laugh to see a corporate brand is essentially promoting free market capitalism, when a lot of this the corporate ethos is to distract from free market capitalism
Right.
with essentially subsidized plants, subsidized sugars that, like citric acid that's grown and manufactured by GMOs that were GMO companies that were subsidized. So it was interesting to see that. But anyway, I mean, you're not a representative for Country Time, but
No.
it just amused me as all. But at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same time, all I was saying, like, it's not
Yeah.
that easy to set up a lemonade stand anymore either, because
And
the
no, it's
state is
not easier.
cancer.
Yeah, right. It is absolutely, and so that's and I'm glad you actually touched upon that with Country Time. That's the idea of Anarcho Inc. It's the true free market capitalists is who I want to talk to. The people who are bootstrapping their companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
That are not taking corporate handouts from large VC capitalists or even crony capitalist pigs. This is money funded by me. I started it with the money I make full time, and I hope to grow it. Can I grow it to a place where that I can sustain a lifestyle that is comfortable for me and my family? And then that's the other thing is that, with the CBD and the coffee, our stuff is organically farmed. This shit is, the distributor I work with for the coffee. Uh, he tries to give the stuff is ethically sourced, so meaning there's no slave labor or child labor happening. So that's why the coffee is at the cost it is, right? So, I guess real trickle down economics, right?
Well, and
So to
also, of
speak.
course, you don't seem to have a big ass manufacturing plant. Um, so,
No.
like, if you don't have one of those, then making the actual product by hand in certain terms is a lot harder. Like, for instance, John Oliver, who I disagree with strongly on many things, but not this particular thing. He went over Amazon and how it cuts costs on everything by basically having humans do a lot of really underpaid grunt work, where they're walking up to like 15 to 20 miles a day for like not very much money an hour, and will
Hmm.
get their wages cut if their rates drop. So they're all trying to compete, and it's anti-union and all that sort of bullshit. So but the reason I brought that up was, like, essentially when you're dealing with mass manufacturing and things like Amazon or Folgers or Maxwell House or any of these big ass companies, they have not only the quote slave labor, which is, they're getting better with that because they have to,
Hmm.
because people started to blow whistles, but, like, they're still cheap, and the reason they're still cheap is because they found ways to cut costs in other ways. They
Right.
beefed up their manufacturing. They automated more of it so that they could remove more humans from the equation, and result in less insurance, less liability, less people involved, that sort of thing. So I don't think, like, if people are talking about expense, I don't think that a lot of people look into why things cost
Right.
the way they do. They just look at the fact that they do cost what they do.
Yep.
So I mean, do you have any experience with dealing with people like that?
Yeah. Pretty much fuck off. But no, I try to do the best explaining why the expense is the way they are, right? And I try to present a fair price, I guess, whatever the fuck that means. Um, In terms of our coffee, we're pretty equivalent to our competitors like Black Rifle Coffee. And I always say, if you want to support the war, then you can go buy that shit. But if you want to support the anti-war, then you can buy our stuff, right? Um, so, I think we're equivalent there. And again, when it comes to the CBD stuff, I think, you get what you pay for with CBDs. A lot of CBDs, they'll charge $30 or $40 for their tincture stuff, but when you're paying $70 or $70, $80 because with shipping, you're getting a higher potency and a higher quality CBD for sure. And
Okay. Okay, so actually that'd be something I would ask. So,
mhm.
since you don't hand make the CBD, and since it does go through somebody else, if there's a problem, do they contact you or do they contact headquarters? Is it like
No, it's
okay,
me. And the same with the coffee. You're dealing with me every time. Actually, and people don't know this probably, but anybody who's ever bought Anarcho Coffee, and quite a few have already have, it's me. There's nobody else. I individually handhold your and fulfill your orders. I make sure it gets to the distributor correctly. It goes to the right address. I'm printing the shipper labels and giving it to the distributor and making sure everything goes right. If something fails, you have to contact me. Actually, the chat on our website, anarchocoffee.com, is me. So if I don't answer, it's because I'm asleep. There's nobody else. This is
right?
it. This is
Well,
my
so
operations right here.
but what I was asking is the CBD
Yeah.
specifically. So,
It-
do they contact you or do they contact headquarters?
no, they contact me. If
Okay.
there's, yeah.
So what do you say if they say that a product is low quality for that run? Do you
Well,
tell them that they do you tell them to send it back to you so that you could send it back, or do you just process a refund somehow from
I will
headquarters?
I will process a refund through their system. But if I continue to sell the CBD, their CBD, and people continue to say it's low quality, I'll drop it and I'll find another person to do the CBD.
Right, right. Yeah,
Yep.
because and see one of the things I don't like is when people knock this sort of business while not also knocking its basic sister. Like there's your local corner store operates essentially the same way. It orders from a product from a manufacturer. It it calls itself Joe's store, even though Joe doesn't make Coke, and it sells Joe's Coke, even though it had never had anything to do with the Coca-Cola company. So this is essentially the same thing, and a lot of people say that because you got it from another organization, it's somehow wrong, and then they'll go and support another middleman. They'll go buy Taco Bell, which is a Yum Foods thing where they get all their stuff from the same people who make the stuff that goes in Walmart. You know,
Hmm.
like a lot of people seem to have a fundamental disconnect from the way economics works. Is that
Mm.
part of the reason that you connected the ideas of Austrian economics to the ideas of coffee, etc., and CBD and all these businesses you're trying to run because it makes it easier to explain the invisible hand when you already know about it?
Yeah, I never thought about it in that way. But yeah, it's essentially the idea I had in my mind is libertarians, maybe not so much anarchists, but maybe anarcho-capitalists, talk about the free market so much and talk about how awesome the free market is and how we could privatize everything. Well, this is the test, right? Can I guess can I take these businesses and make my own pave my own way, right? And who knows, maybe one day Anarcho Coffee can support to build the roads. I don't know. But I'm one man, I guess, with a dream, and I'm just trying it, and um, that's all I can, I guess, really say about that.
Right. Okay. So I guess that was another thing I was gonna ask. What's the scale of your operation? How many plants do you have at any given time?
With the CBD or the?
the coffee.
Oh, the coffee. The coffee is I'm not growing the coffee. It's a pretty small operation. I mean, it's one guy in California, and he's got maybe 3 to 4 locals that he works with out of like Ethiopia, Nicaragua, and I forget the other places, but yeah, he's only got like 3 to 4 farms that he's working with, and he's got a plane, I guess that, or I don't think he has a plane, but he flies down there to meet with these people locally. One of the things actually the distributor I work with did recently was they took some of the money they made and built a school in Ethiopia, right? So this is one of the reasons I partnered with this distributor. He has like-minded views, and his skill set was different from mine, right? He's got the skills with the farmers, right? He's made the connections with the farmers to get the coffee. I've done the marketing, right? And he works with other people too to kind of essentially white label the coffee, right, and sell it. And so what I've done was, I've taken it and white labeled it and niched it down. And I've also opened it up to accept cryptocurrency, which he couldn't technically figure it out. So, if somebody else does that, somebody at work was saying, well, couldn't I just go out and get the same distributor? Absolutely. Go for it. That's what the free market's all about. If you can do it better than me, please do. I'm not, that's, but most people don't because they're afraid to take that first step, right? There's always that fear, and that's where the CBD helps.
Yeah. Well, and for me, I just take more caffeine whenever I need to deal with something. That's my particular bias. I've got the fucking little bottle of Jet Alert over here, so.
Right.
So, okay. I guess my next question would be, what kind of traffic do you normally get to your sites? Is it normally people who are more anarchist and looking for an anarchist coffee company to support, or is it people who want good coffee and they don't mind the fact that you're anarchist? Which would you say is more the audience that you get?
I think it's the first one. So it's libertarian, liberty-minded people, more anarchist, agorists is the market. So, and I'm stealing a line from Kevin Michael Gary, who I had on my show about creating businesses. I found a niche and I scratched the itch is what I've done. And people like what I do, and they like the artwork I put out. We also sell T-shirts and stickers and mugs too, and it's all pretty much liberty-minded messages, right? We just actually released a couple of new graphics where we hooked up with Gray Man Design on a agorist graphic design company. So this is another way we are trying to create the alternative economy, right? So we purchase services with Bitcoin Cash through Grayman, and we've got new graphics with the Killdozer and Agora Anarchy in Action. And the second I put those up last night, there were 3 orders. So there's certainly a market for this stuff, 100%. In the beginning, I was scared because a lot of anarcho-communists were like bashing the shit out of me. And I just had to ignore it. There's going to be haters with this. Anytime you put yourself out there, people are going to hate on what you do and pick apart what you do. You have to say fuck it and move on.
Well, okay, so I was going to ask you about that because I assumed you would get some backlash, to be completely honest, because
I did.
You're calling it AnarchoCoffee, and your colors are appealing to only one sort of anarch. So I was wondering about like not only what kind of backlash you got, but also the way you responded to the backlash. So you just said you ignored it. Did you respond to any of it, and how could you respond to it, or how did you respond to it if you had some time to think about it?
Yeah. So we try to appeal to more than just the anarcho-capitalists and the libertarian, right? We have a brew called the Agorist Aroma, and that has actually sold quite well. So we do appeal to the Agorists as well. But when it comes to an anarcho-communist, yeah, I don't think there's any appeal there, unfortunately, because they want to seize the means of production or whatever the fuck that means. It doesn't click with me, and I'm sorry, it just doesn't. I just wasn't. It doesn't make sense. And so, how did I deal with the backlash? Was one, I ignored it, and then if it was essentially life-threatening to me or my family or abusive, I blocked it. I mean, I'm not going to deal with that. I mean, and people can call me out on that, saying, well, you're whatever, you're not an anarchist because you block people. But at the end of the day, I have to do what's right for me as an individual, so I can provide for my family and then help others.
Well, and it's interesting that you would say that, that people call you not an anarchist for blocking. It seems to me that using a tool that you have been given license to use for its intended purpose is like in line with anarchy. I mean, it's not like you forced anybody to do anything, and it's not
Right.
like anybody forced you to hit block. It seems like voluntary association. Like,
Right.
I refuse to serve X because they're being noisome in my store. Like, is that like your mindset behind it? And like, how did you respond when people said you weren't anarchist because you blocked people? It,
Yeah.
and did that happen more often than not, or did
No,
more often than not they just walk away?
most people walked away. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, I sometimes would be a little trolly myself, and I would make a meme about the shit they were saying. Um, but most people walked away, and just kind of let it be. So I haven't had a milkshake thrown at me yet. So I guess I'm doing all right.
Well, and as long as it's not one of the ones with quickcrete in it, you could probably just use that as Kramer. So whatever.
Right.
Um, so uh, there are multiple comments here for you.
Oh
Um,
shit. Yeah.
So it's my audience is mixed, but they're normally pretty understanding, which is something that constantly surprises me because I'm a cynical asshole and somehow people gravitate toward me anyway. But whatever. Um, that's a topic for another day. I could self-flagellate on shit for a while.
Mm.
Uh, so Devin says, "Nice microphone, Jay."
Nice. Thanks,
Um,
brother.
Taya Gandas Faraj says, and I think that's how you pronounce that name. I might be butchering it. Says seizing the means just means partnership. Does not mean to not have a business. Also means no bosses in a business, but working together and exploiting and not exploiting each other. I'm guessing that's what he meant.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that he clarified like a few comments later.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
because I have a lot of I run with a mentality that I coined called anarcho-coalitionism, which involves trying to work with anarchists of all stripes to build the overarching coalition of ending the state, with
I
many
like that.
sub-coalitions of people accomplishing certain anti-state tasks. So, for instance, your task could be getting big pharma less relevant by providing CBD, and you could do that by a mutualist arrangement with your neighbors or an agorist relationship with people over the internet,
Yep.
things like that. But so I get a lot of comments that like aren't from the ANCAP perspective, but they're normally from people who are pretty understanding, like Tayaganda. So
Awesome. No, no, it's glad to hear it. And so an example too of how I like this idea of an anarcho coalition, really do. I've had an advertiser reach out for AnarchoInc podcast, the Agorist Nexus. So if you've got a business or some sort of service, I highly recommend that you list with them. And that's an advertiser I did not turn down because I like the idea of the Agorist Nexus. Uh, so yeah, I mean, it's going to take all stripes and all ideas to abolish the state, and I even hate to say this, but to at least limit it from what it is today. Um, I mean, I just look around you is what I always say. I mean, this is I think there's a meme out there, and I'm all about the meme education, but it's like we're between 1984 Fahrenheit. What's that book? Fahrenheit
451.
451, right? And another book, and we're right smack dab in the middle of all of this shit.
Well, True Stream Media, who I believe both subscribes on YouTube and follows the weekly Hellscape, so they might be listening to this podcast right now. I'm not exactly sure,
Okay.
but they have a really good way of putting it. They have a Venn diagram that says, you know, I don't remember the order, but Brave New World,
That's what it is.
1984, and Animal Farm or something like that. I can't remember what the third book was, and then they said You Are Here.
Mm-hmm.
There we go, because that's the center of it. You can't see that right now, but fucking, I was pointing at my camera awkwardly.
In the middle, right?
I'm an awkward person, but the but the point is, like, we do live in a dystopia. I'm curious as to your response to that dystopia. We talked briefly about technocracy when before we started this broadcast. What are your thoughts on that, and how does moving business to an online forum help with that?
Yeah. So with the, I guess the ever changing of technology and all this crazy technology we have. We've got cameras everywhere. People have Alexa in their home constantly listening, your phone constantly listening, right? Thanks to Edward Snowden and you know, people of that stripe. And being a web developer myself, I can tell you 100% that many of the sites you visit, and most of your listeners probably already have blockers, but 100% most of the sites you visit are tracking you. And it's not just Google Analytics. You can go ahead over to hotjar.com. This is a website that takes screen recordings of what you're clicking on their website to improve user experience. Other tools like VWO, which is Visual Website Optimizer. So there are like cookies that get put on your website so they can advertise to you better. I mean, we know this is happening, right? I mean, you talk about cat food long enough and you're going to see an ad in your Facebook feed for cat food. And
Sure.
and people are going to fucking call you crazy, but these things are sort of happening. I think the alternative is open source. A good book to read, and I can't remember, it's something The Bazaar. I'll have to look it up. It's about the idea of Linux and Unix and these other types of systems that are open sourced. And so this is why I try to build all my websites on WordPress.org, because it's an open source platform. Yes, there is some tracking with this platform, but it is limited to the person's server and what you're putting on that server. So, for instance, I try not to use Google Analytics. I try to use Jetpack, which is the kind of the VIP version, or made by Automatic, which is like a WordPress company. And I've been to the WordPress community. It's a good group of people. It tends to lean left, but again, all really good ideas. It's the idea of democratizing publishing, website publishing, and having anybody for the ability to publish online, even people with disabilities. So it's another platform I support, at least, you know.
Okay, so and yes, I would recommend WordPress. I use the same thing. I also use Jetpack mostly for the analytics, but the the primary question is, so like, one alternative thing that you do that's good is you accept cryptocurrency.
Yes, sorry. Yep.
So I mean, of that vein, what else are you doing to separate from the pack? Like, why should an anarchist buy coffee from you rather than just Folgers? Like, this is your basic like elevator pitch I'm asking for.
Yeah. So we accept crypto. We're the organically farmed coffee for the free thinker, right? And I think I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but the way I've always said it is we try to give back and keep the money in the liberty anarchy community is why, I would say to buy from me. I'm an individual. This is an independent business. There's no bank loans. There's no, backers. There's no VC investors. It's just me. And I'm trying to do this on my own. So that's the reason I'm I would say to buy. Yeah, and one of them is cryptocurrency. We try to accept the more popular cryptocurrencies, and the ones that are more secure. And yeah. Sorry to ramble on, but yeah.
Well, no, I mean, what I've been doing while you've been talking is I've been scrolling down your site so that people can get a look at them.
Oh,
Um,
thanks.
so my question to you, I guess, would be, because this is you trying to do this on your own, um, what happens if people start to actually come en masse? Are you going to try to find ways to get more staff? Are you going to try to scale your operation? Or are you just always going to try to stay small? And if like your limited batches are done, you're done.
Yeah, that's a great question. I hope to get there one day. And I want to employ like-minded people. I want to employ, people from the anarchist community, and I'd like to keep it a relatively flat company. Um, I've worked for large corporations, and I even work for startups that are around 80 to 100 people. And what I don't want to happen is a benevolent dictatorship. Um, I don't know if it'll ever grow that big. If it does, you know, I don't know if I'm prepared to deal with it, to be honest with you. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to cross that. I'll have to cross that bridge when I get there. But as of right now, if I even get enough just to sustain me, that would be great. But if I have enough to employ other individuals, it would be people who are think the same way and have the same passion for liberty and freedom. Um, and like I said, I'd like to keep it relatively flat. I don't want to be CEO or some, Jack, what is his name? Jack Dorsey of Twitter, or Mark Zuckerberg. That's um, certainly never the intention here. Um, yeah,
Okay, so that was going to be my next question. Are you a corporation or are you a non-profit?
that's a good question. I'm an individual. Uh, I'm not LLC'd.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I'm an individual. It's me. I'm a DBA. This is doing business as Jay.
Right.
Um,
So you're a self-contractor. You're trying to
yeah,
run your own business essentially.
yeah. I've thought about LLC, but that doesn't seem. It seems contradictory to anarchy, and especially because it's asking the state for the permission to do business, which is
Right.
fucking insane. I will get business insurance when I can afford it, because I always have the fear of being sued. We are a very sue happy country. But right now, I feel relatively safe and in this community. And a great example is I've fucked up a couple of orders in the beginning, and I felt terrible. And right away, I got online and I said, "Do you want your money back right now?" Like, I was ready to, I wasn't going to be a capitalist pig and be like, "Oh no, fuck you, your order, it's not fucked up." And people have been super receptive. The guy's like, "Oh no, no, just send me another bag," and I was like, "Keep that bag." And to be honest, I had to pay for that out of my pocket. That I didn't have capital to reimburse that, or send a new order. I had to give him a free one because I felt like I fucked up, and I think that was the right thing to do, customer service wise, right? And so, yeah, I mean, um, I'm trying to be a good human being, I guess, man.
Yeah. Well, and that, because I was gonna ask, you've got an agorist themed brew, and it would be contradictory to have that and then ignore something Samuel Edward Konkin said in his New Libertarian Manifesto, the root, which was the root of agorism, which this is a chopped up quote, but it's, not out of character or anything. I'm quoting pretty directly. He says, "In an agorist society, the vision of labor and self-respect of each worker capitalist entrepreneur will probably eliminate the traditional business organization, especially the corporate hierarchy, an imitation of the state and not the market." He goes on to say, "A corporation is a fictitious individual created by the state and is endowed with privileges. Some privileges besides subsidies and tariffs are special tax rates, limited liability exemption from regulation, licenses, and legal benefits in court disputes." So my question is, how resilient is your business to the shocks of, for instance, legal disputes, and also how well are you able to saddle yourself with the costs of like taxation and all these regulations and bullshit like that? Is that part of the reason the coffee is pricey, because you're starting a savings account in case some bullshit goes down with a customer?
Yeah, in one way, yes. Yeah, I'd like to get business insurance in just in case I am taken to court legally. I don't know why. It's just coffee.
I mean, yeah, but like, there's always that cunt. I
Yep.
mean, so
Yeah.
like,
So yeah. In terms of price, yeah, that's one prime point. I'd like to put away some. I'd like to get some business insurance to protect myself. But if you're asking me today, no, this is 100% a huge risk operation. If the shit were to hit the fan, um, I could lose my house and lose my family.
so why
Yeah.
are you comfortable making a choice like that?
When you've worked in corporate America for 10 years and you've done the 9 to 5 grind, at some point in your life, you have to take a leap of faith. And this is my leap of faith. And this is not to be some kind of martyr or manifesto. It's just that I know I can't sit in an office for the next 10 years and sit at a computer and report into some guy who thinks I'm a fucking idiot or an asshole or whatever, or some political bullshit. Um, I try to get along with everybody, and the office setting has a lot of politics. Anybody who's ever worked in any job with many people, there's always politics, and there's always the political discourse and the he said, she said, and I can't take it anymore. I want a way out, I guess, of the matrix.
Yeah, you went off your hamster wheel, as Finian Cornelison, one of my biggest supporters, would say.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I want off the hamster wheel. Yeah. And we didn't get into the other things. I mean, I followed the American dream 100%. I went to school. I have not one, not two, but 3 degrees. I have student loan debt from those lovely government-backed loans that they promised that you could get with no cost or whatever the fuck it was. And I believe that going to school would better my life, and it has. It has. I'm not going to say I'm, living in a dirt house, but what I do deal with every day is a pile of debt right here, pile of fucking bills that I have no idea how I'm going to pay in my lifetime. and that's what it is. I mean, is this the American dream? Is to be a slave to the banks for the rest of our lives? I can't do it anymore, you know?
Well, I mean, if you want to get technical, yeah, it is, but
Okay, sorry, not to go on this trip, man, but yeah, I
what?
mean, you've
No, I mean,
yeah,
I wanted to take it further. The American dream is precisely to be enslaved to banks. America is a bankster-owned corporation that calls itself a government, and in this particular case, it operates by putting us all under debt. I sympathize hugely with what you were just saying, but for a different reason. I don't have a credit file. I've never publicly taken a loan. I've only ever borrowed from friends and family. And that means that it was very hard for the past year for me to find a place. This is the first lease I've signed in years that I just signed. And it's because I chose to live within my means to the best of my ability. And,
right,
you can't do that and also live in America.
right,
And that's what the American dream really is. It's buying into the corporate fiction. It's having a social security number tied to other numbers so that they can categorize you as a good follower citizen. Like, it's ich
yeah,
keine Nummer, ich bin ein Mensch, you know? It's that
mm-hmm.
sort of shit.
Yeah, it really, yeah, I mean, it is. It's just, yeah, it's you're just a cog in the machine, and I'm tired of being a cog in the machine.
Yeah. Well, and that's a valuable thing to be tired of, you know? So, like, when you say that you have a pile of debt that you're trying to pay back, my question to you is, you've got the coffee, you've got the merch, you've got the CBD, but you've also got a podcast that you're trying to run. Do you
Yeah.
have a Patreon there?
Yeah, we do Patreon, even regardless. I understand. I've heard the things that happened to Sargon and that shit. And I just, and I use Bitbacker and I use Subscribestar as well. And I've heard the rumors of um, Mr. Peterson working on a new platform, I think with Dave Rubin.
Yeah, ThinkSpot. I signed up for the beta.
Oh, you did? Okay, so it's happening.
Well,
Thanks for,
it's happening, and it's also interesting because it has a 50-word minimum word limit on posts. So you have to say at least 50 words in order to post there, which means that you can't just post some incendiary thing and then walk away. It's free speech supported. They will not, censor anything unless it's court ordered for them to do so, like it's libel or slander or whatever, blah blah.
right.
But as long as it's protected under the extremely fucked up and botched definition of the First Amendment that the fascists these days want us to lick their boots and say is fine, um, this platform will allow it, but it'll only allow it 50 words plus. So it's interesting. I want to see how that pans out. I'm also on PocketNet, which I would highly recommend to everybody get on. You can sign up with the link in my description. PocketNet is fucking great. It's censorship resistant. Every post is on the blockchain. And instead of Steemit, where you get whales and other assholes like that who get to decide what content on the platform gets the most basically support, it's all done by random lottery by people who upvote the content. You get like 2 to 3 pocket coins by sort of a random lottery if your post is 4 stars or above, which means that, like, for instance, if somebody starts posting child porn and their account is flagged and like all their posts are like no stars, they won't get paid by the platform and the data won't be stored on nodes, so it's not sketchy at all. So that sort of thing, like, it's censor resistant. They cannot block you for an opinion. So that's what I like about that platform, and I've been pushing it pretty heavily. But the reason I ask about all of that is because I think a lot of people think that, and this is something that came up recently because I did a couple fundraisers for my content to continue so that I wouldn't end up in a ditch, and a lot of people took personal issue with that because, like, when it comes to watching the content, they don't mind doing that. But when it comes to supporting it, a lot of people think that asking directly is turning yourself into part of the beggar class. And I wanted to get your general response to that sort of mindset, but I also wanted to ask how you respond to people like telling you that you're trying to make too much money. How do you respond to people telling you you're trying to amass too much capital? Because from what it sounds like, that's a complaint that many people have. And I'm wondering, like, if you haven't responded to it publicly, how you respond to it now, and if you have responded to it publicly, how did you respond?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. So one of the things I've been called since doing this is a neckbeard shill. Um,
And gotta love that people get hair wrong all the time. Like, it's not a neck beard if it grows up on your cheeks. Like, that's like
right.
Amish people intentionally grow neck beards. If you want to see a neck beard, you can look at an Amish guy and on Google Images, and it'll show you what that is. And somebody called me said that I had a mullet the other day when it's obviously not a mullet. Like,
Yeah.
mullets are short on top. Anyway, just
hmm
fucking hair comments because it's
Yeah,
possible to
hair
talk
comp.
about.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
continue.
well, yeah, and John Odermatt has really helped me with this. He's like, people are gonna do that. That's what people do because they have nothing better to do, and that's fine. You know, no, though, at the end of the day, I like the old saying is like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, to an extent, I mean, it is a mind fuck at the end of the day. And so, and to answer your question, sorry not to get off topic, but about amassing too much money. I haven't answered it publicly, and I've actually never been asked the question that,
Oh,
and
okay.
when you're and so yeah, it's a great question. I'm as I think about this, I'm thinking about what I've read from Murray Rothbard and what I've read on just forums and anarcho-capitalists, and it's kind of just like, well, it's voluntarily, right? People have voluntarily believed in what I believed in and are giving money for a product that they like. And if it's making me more wealthy and others more wealthy, what is the problem with that voluntary exchange, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, I've also said this is that I'm not in this to be the next multimillionaire. I'm again looking to escape the rat race or the hamster wheel, and it's only been a few months, and it has been going weller than I expected, especially for the coffee. Um, when I get there, I'll have to cross that bridge. When I get there, and I'm not trying to dodge your question. I'm really not.
Oh,
Um, you
to be
know,
honest, I've been accused of asking like offensively difficult questions in the past.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
like I totally understand that it takes a while to answer. You can take as long as you need.
yeah,
We've got
great.
time.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a capitalist, right? And I'm not trying to be a capitalist pig or a crony capitalist. I'm trying to use, um, it's like a monopoly game, right? I guess, and I'm just trying to play the game as well, but without being crooked or sham about it, I guess, right? So I'm using the means that we have, which is free markets, and trying to use those means the best I can to get out of this situation I am, so I can do the things I want to do, like homesteading and homeschooling and being home with my family, right? Instead of sitting in an office for 60 hours a week and not being able to spend time with my kids or go fishing or go gardening and kind of have time to do those things, right? While also trying to make other people happy by offering the products and services that I have. Yeah, I don't know. Does that answer your question? About I guess I didn't answer the question about worrying. The, do I worry about the amount of money I'll make? Not yet. I don't see it.
Okay, so that'd be the next question. Are you willing to scale up, or is this like, fucking the shark guy on Instagram where you just want to blow up and then act like you don't know nobody?
I'm not familiar with that guy. What did he do? You'll
No,
have to.
it's just
Oh,
an amusing joke thing.
oh,
He
okay.
has these really fucked up sharp teeth and like a lot of face tattoos, and he says, "I just want to blow up and act like I don't know nobody." Ha 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 ha. And then he like fucking chomps his teeth. It's funny. You should
Oh,
look it up at
okay. I'll
some
check it
point.
out. Yeah, no, no, I'm not going to do that either. I've made some great through podcasting, and through doing this, I've made some great connections. Nick being one of them,
Right.
on the Dank Path Stash. So no, that's not the intentions at all. I mean, at some point, I will have to retire, and anarcho. So I'll have to pass the torch to anarcho coffee if it makes it that far.
Mm-hmm.
Again, maybe.
But that was my question though. Is like, how much are you willing to expand?
Mm. I want to keep it. I want to keep. I like the idea of a small mom and pop. Um, I have aspirations to own a cafe one day, a place where other people of like-minded people can come. Um, I am in the state of New Hampshire, and I didn't move here because of the Free State Project, but I've made some really good friends in the Free State Project, and so I think this is a great place to have Anarcho Coffee. I mean, what better place than where the Free State Project is? And I've teased the question out once of would people crowdfund a cafe, an anarcho coffee cafe? And I forgot what the results were, but most people said yes. Some people said no. But it would be a place for to do podcasts like this and have some great coffee and have uh, um, you know have a good social life with this community.
Okay, so but that would effectively lead to the next question. You're
Hmm.
dealing with a manufacturer right now that as far as you said in another country, right?
Yes, yeah, distributor who then goes to the farmers. Yep.
Have you ever considered opening up a more local farm so that you could remove more of the middlemaning from the process and have cheaper coffee?
Yes, the problem I've read is that coffee would be hard to grow here in the States. You need a very tropical weather
Right.
to grow coffee. So it would be very difficult to do, especially here in New Hampshire where it gets 0 below in the winters. But yeah, I mean, if somebody, I'm all open for ideas. If somebody approached me and said, "Hey, I grow coffee, and here's how you can do it in the U.S." and somebody wants to, co-op or work with me, absolutely, to cut out more of the middleman. But right now, I don't see a way of doing that right now.
Right. Well, it would be sometime down the line when your operation needed to expand anyway, and that's how
Right.
you would justify the expansion is we're making it cheaper by making it more local or something like that. And
Yeah.
I guess that would be my second question. If there was a similar offer on the table from somebody about your CBD, would you also be willing to change that to a more locally sourced sort of
Absolutely.
marijuana operation?
Absolutely. If I could have my own, you grow my own beans for coffee and grow my own plants for CBD and grow my own hops for beer, I would love to do that.
All right.
Um, yeah, I just, I'm in the position now where I can't. I have to
Right.
work with other vendors, right? So yeah.
Right, because when the only reason I'm asking all these technical questions is like there's a possibility that this video will be seen by people who might know people who know people who know people
Oh,
who
okay.
would be interested in
Yeah.
that. And there's also the idea of if people want to be interested in service like this, then they might want to know how much it's going to expand before it can't expand anymore, so that they can tell their friends, or whatever, if they like the coffee, and or the CBD or whatever. And so I want to make sure that the scale is at least partially known, the potential scale here, so that people know what they can tell people, and so that so that the message is loud and clear to anybody who might want to become involved. And that was going to be my next question. There are services right now where people can subscribe and get regular CBD or coffee to their door. Do you have something like that set up yet, and are you willing to set it up if not?
Yeah, we are working on a subscription service for both the CBD and the coffee. My goal is to have that ready by end of summer. So I do all the development myself. So I've looked into solutions. They Solutions out of the box cost money, and so we're going to go with an out of box solution because I just don't have the time to sit and code it and develop it myself.
Right. Like a Stripe plugin, because you're using WordPress,
Right.
right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a WooCommerce one. It was like $199. It's $200 for each site. So that's $200 I either got to come out of pocket with, which I'll probably do because we don't even, make $200 a month yet. But yes, that's the beauty of this company right now. It's so small. I will take any suggestions people ask for. People, I had a friend say, hey, you should change Anarcho's tagline from free market business to the alternative economy. Nikki P from Sounds Like Liberty. And I did that because I was like, sure, why not? I mean, this is a small enough operations. Like I said, it's me right now. And so your ideas are heard. So if you want to get into something that's very grassroots, now's the time, for sure. The names of the coffee have come from people. We've got great names like Mises Mix, Rothbard Roast, Agorist Aroma, Voluntary Valhalla. So we have fun with the names. Yeah, and so it's really been a very fun project to work on. Where it goes from here, I don't know. But yeah, we want to scale. It's something that I don't want to drop off the face of the earth. I hope
Okay.
yeah.
Well, so that would be my next question. We were talking before the stream about how we're both gamers, and how we both like enjoy that quite a bit. We were mocking GameSpot, saying that you basically only go there because your kid likes consoles. But my question is, we also briefly touched on Humble, which you seemed familiar with. Now,
hmm
Humble offers the option to donate to whichever charity you want instead of their
Mm.
chosen charity a month. So I'm wondering, because you said you donate to anarchist causes, if that's ever going to be in the works, where people can choose from your select list of anarchist charities of any stripe that they want to, and just add that to their purchase.
I love it.
Okay.
I have not thought of that, and you are now part of AnarchoCoffee and will forever get attribution for that idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just like Rothbard Roast came from Daniel Elwood of Actual Anarchy podcast, and so I try to give shout out to those guys too. So I love it. That's a really good idea. I never thought of it. So yeah, man. Well, I got to figure out how to build it.
All right. Well, maybe hit up somebody who knows how the Humble model works. I'm not 100% sure how the Humble
Yeah.
model works, but I do know that it's there, and
Mm.
because I use that to throw some money to Mises and Anti-War, and I think I threw some money at Wounded Warriors and IVA.
Hmm.
For some reason, the stream viewers dropped from 710 to 720. I'm hoping I still see comments there, but I'm hoping that it didn't just like shut down or whatever. I'm assuming it's just a blip in the reading of analytics and not the actual stream itself, but whatever. All that aside, if anybody wants to check out his stuff, links will be in the description, and about I want to say an hour and a half, and I'll be promoting those links in the posts that I'll be making on my site. For those of you who don't know, I've got my fucking intentionally abrasive, hostile, angry, fucking psychologically designed site to fuck with people called jeremiahharding.com. You can visit that as well. You can also go to AnarchoCoffee, AnarchoCBD, and AnarchoInc.com. All three of those sites are sites that would help this guy out. Is there anything else you want to plug?
No, that's it, brother. I mean, I always like to say peace, love, and anarchy.
All right. Well, if there's anything else you want to say, Cody says the stream is good. He's a supporter, and he also runs his own podcast. He says he doesn't like some of the stuff that he's been doing, but I think it's very good stuff. If anybody wants to check out Renewing Your Heart Network, it's Catholic Anarchy. But all that aside, I want to have him on as well. By the way, if you're listening, Cody, feel free to hit me up. But all that aside, I think we're going to do a recording for your podcast right after this. So
Yeah.
I will include the link to that when it's up. And this link will be everywhere very shortly. I'm going to spam all my fucking bullshit everywhere. Also, there's going to be a link in the description for Necrotopia RPG, which is an RPG I've been tasked with marketing. I'm one of the people marketing it of myself and the person who made it. If you decide you want to do D6 style gameplay that is based in the actively occurring apocalypse, like not post-apocalypse like Fallout, but it's happening now, then feel free to check out Necrotopia. It's going to be an available link in the description once I end this recording and before we start. But all that said, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Hope it wasn't too uncomfortable for some of these questions, but the format's going to be generally this in the future. It's going to look a little bit spruced up, but for all of those of you who listened, feel free to support the show using any of the links in the description. I would really appreciate any backing that this show could get. So feel free to do that. Feel free to support his business, and I think that about does it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And now for me to end the stream so that people can no longer look at my weird face that twitches too much. Be well, everyone. Anarchy, and fuck the system, smash the state.